Hey, how's it going, everyone? In this video, I'm just going to do a quick update to our previous project, which was the compound interest rates calculator, where we created this calculator using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And, well, it's calculating our compounded interest. You could also have a monthly payment, so far and so on. And this is the JavaScript part, but I actually want to do a quick update, which is a refactoring of the entire code. Basically, we're going to make the code simpler and easier to read and much cleaner, because our jobs as developers not only to make things work, but also write clean code. So this is actually something that I'm going to do from this point on in each of my HTML, CSS, and JavaScript videos. I'm going to do at the end of the video a refactoring, because as you can see here, we are getting all of the elements and using a lot of const, but I told you we could do this much simpler. And I do want to create beginner-friendly videos, but at the end, I do want you to also take that one step further into a much better understanding of JavaScript. So let's get started. First things first, I'm going to delete here a couple of things that are commented out. So I'm going to delete that. Oh, by the way, the code is down in the description below. And if you want to check out the previous video with its previous code, then also go ahead. I'm going to leave a link in the description below to that. So first things first, this is the part where we're getting all of our elements from our DOM, okay? Here's the DOM, here are the elements, or here's the HTML. This is the DOM. There are our elements, and I'm actually going to close this part up. So as I said, we can actually get our elements much easier, or not much easier, but shorter, deleting this const, deleting our semicolon, and just typing in a comma. Now this means that this is a const, this is the name of the variable, and this is what it does, comma, do the same thing again, add again a variable with an, which will be a constant, and give it this name and do this, then comma, and delete the constant, do this and this. And actually I'm just going to show you that it still works by, let me just do this now, comma, so years, we're going to delete this const and semicolon, and we're going to delete this semicolon and this const, but you do need to end with a semicolon, okay? So this should still work. As you can see, it is still working. Okay, I'm just going to put this up here and this down here. Why isn't prettier working? Wait just a second. Okay, so we got this part done. So let me just rearrange them. As you can see, it is working perfectly. Okay, we got all of our elements. Let me also put you down here. Next, let's go to this event listener. So this is extremely clear what it does, but I usually don't do things this way. Instead of add event listener of submit, we're going to on submit. This is the event that we're listening for. So on submit, we don't need this anymore. And now we need to assign it to a arrow function. This arrow function, instead of this function, will take in the event and it's going to pass it through, and it will prevent the default behavior. Then it will do a conditioning. If, so far and so on, you also need to delete this parenthesis down here. Okay, this should still work. Let's just check it out. Yep. And also let me quickly, okay, so this is still working. 5,000, 5%, 10 years, 250. Whoa, that's a lot of money. Yeah, so this is still working. Okay, now instead of this type of conditioning, we're going to use a ternary operator. Now a ternary operator looks as following. If something is true, then do something, then question mark, do something else, do something else. So this would be basically the syntax for a ternary operator. So if something is true, then do something. If it's not true, do something else. In our case, so we have this condition from here to here. So if initial balance value is equal to length of string and so on and so on, then we will use the alert that we have down here. Now, if this is not true, then we will calculate the compounded interest. So let me comment this part out and see if this works. Yep. So it's getting me our alert. And if I start to calculate the compounded interest, then there we go. It still works. Okay, so this down here, also going to delete it. It's basically the same thing as this up here. Now, also I'm going to change. So let me delete this and delete this. I'm also going to change something here. And that is, I'm going to get all of the values using a function and add them to an object. So let's create a function, call it getValues. Basically, this function will return a value object, and this object will have key value pairs of let's say principal amount, which will be initial, the initial balance. So exactly as what we have up here, the initial balance dot value. I'm doing this because I don't want to constantly get the values when I'm executing something. For example, here I'm getting the value, here I'm getting value. I want to grab onto the values as soon as I submit this form. And this function will get, actually I'm going to copy it in here above our operator, because first things first. So first is going to prevent the default behavior, then it's going to get the values, then it's going to pass them in this validation. So we have this done, and the rest of them is basically the same. So I'm just going to copy them in here. Don't want to waste your time. I just want to show you how you can do this much easier. So we have a principal amount, interest rate, years, and yeah, monthly contribution. So didn't I? Yep, I messed up here. It should be years. Okay, so this function is getting the values. This means we can now use our object of value, which is this right here. This is returned from this function, and we can use the dot principal amount on it. Okay, so we're using from this object this key, which has this value. Now I can go through this, delete this, copy and paste this in here, and also value and dot years. Okay, now next up, let's go into our calculate component, compound interest rate. So first things first, let's see if this still works. 5,000, 5% interest, 10 years, and calculate, and also interest rates. Now this no longer works, our calculate compound interest rate, because we have here the wrong variables. So let's replace them with values.monthly contribution, which was our first validator. Then this should return a result with an init.html of, and you know what, I'm just going to delete all of this and replace it with something else. So I'm going to replace it with exactly what we did up here. This means this was our if statement, so we're checking if this is true, then do something else, and close it up. And I'm going to delete everything that we had in here because I'm going to replace it with something else. So we're going to delete this part, and we're going to return this if it's, so if the value's monthly contribution is a empty string, then we're going to return as a result, and it's HTML this. If not, so I'm going to delete this and replace it with a column, and delete this, then we're going to return something else. Okay, and you shouldn't be here. Okay, so it's basically the same thing. Also, let me delete these comments. And now we're going to move this functionality automatically in here, which means that we don't no longer need this function. So I'm going to delete it and replace the result with what the function actually did. Now down here, we had our compound interest rate with contribution. So basically this functionality, also going to delete this and replace it with what the function actually did. Paste it in here. The semicolon, didn't need it anymore, and we still got a small error, and this should be this right here. Okay, now let's check out if this works. We get our alert. We can now type in here something. Well, that's a lot of interest rate. 14 years, let's calculate it, and we can add a compounded interest, and it still works. Okay, so easy as that. Just take a look at how much cleaner this code actually is. So we're getting up here, we're getting all of our elements. Then we're grabbing onto our form, we're getting an onSubmit event to it, we're listening to the submit, we are getting all of our elements using this function. This function get the elements, add them to an object, and then we're using that object to extract from it key value pairs. We're testing here which part is valid, and we're executing the part that is valid, which is this functionality, and that is it. You see how much cleaner and shorter this script is in regards for what we did in the other video. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, thumbs up, give it a like, share it with others. If you have any kind of questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. And with this being said, catch you next time. Oh, don't forget to subscribe, join the channel, because we post new videos like this on a regular basis. So see you guys next time. Bye bye.